In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to make a column grid that can help you with doing an editorial layout. So the first thing is just to look at it, and you'll see that it uses various kinds of rectangles. And so it's structurally a really simple thing to make, but it's actually the measurements and the width of the columns that can be a little tricky. There's a couple of ways you can approach making your grid. Some people might want to have their rulers out, which are the little measuring system up here on the left of your interface and the top. And those are basically, you can get them from your view rulers. You can hide them, you can go get them. And the shortcut to get them is Command R. And so there they are at the top, and there they disappear. So Command R makes them visible or invisible. And then you basically are just trying to, create your margins in the pink. And then with the rectangle tool, you're creating your columns. Now, I'm going to show you kind of a quick and easy way to do this, rather than kind of obsessing over, figuring out how wide and doing simple mathematics. But sometimes with inches, it can be really awkward creating, depending on how many columns you have. So a great tool to kind of create a grid on the fly is working with your area type options. So what I'm going to do is create a new file, and we're going to start from scratch to recreate this grid, this column grid. So we'll call it column grid, and I want just one artboard for now is good. Under the profile, you have options, and I would recommend for this you use your print option, and then that gives you your CMYK color profile. And even though we're designing on the screen, which is RGB, all the pixels that are generated are red, green, and blue, when you go to print something at home or even at FedEx or somewhere, they'll be using, printers typically use CMYK. So it's a good idea if you want to try to replicate colors as close as possible, then use CMYK when you're designing, so that when you print, you have a better chance of getting the colors that you want. And then we have the units, and that essentially is our measuring systems. Typically, points are used for measuring type, and sometimes they can be used for document or format sizing. PICAS is a print format. It's a measuring system specifically for print, but we're going to just use inches because it's a good place to start. I've got my letter size, and I'm going to hit OK. So the first thing is to go get your rulers, and under the view menu, you can show your rulers, and you can just start laying down a 1/2 inch kind of margin around your entire document. And you can just pull your guides out and do it kind of can just eyeball it. This usually works pretty good. And then I'm going to fill in my margin area with my rectangles. And I don't quite need it to be that hot pink, but a little lighter version is good. I'm going to hold down the Option key, which helps me duplicate anything, and I can drag that to the bottom. And then I'm going to create my vertical margins. Option click and drag and kind of place them there. So just to kind of clean this up, I'm going to shift select all of my rectangles, and that allows me to go to my shape builder tool, and I'm just going to create one solid little margin area. It's one shape. Okay, so then I'm ready to create my boxes inside, my column boxes. And I'm going to actually use the copy from our assignment to show you how to create a really simple and fast grid. So I'm going to go to that, and I'm not going to worry about the headline for now and the credit, and then the kicker. because I essentially just want to do a one column for the the remaining copy that's actually the main copy of the story. So I'm going to Command C, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to grab my text tool, and you can create a text box just by holding down when you click and drag, and you get a big text box. And then I can click inside at the top left and do Command V, and there's my copy. I'm going to actually set this in the typeface that I've chosen I'm going to use. So I'm going to do a Command A, and I'm going to go up to my character window at the top there. You don't have to do this, but it'll give me a really good idea in terms of how my copy is going to look. And that's kind of a preview. Because it's sans serif, it doesn't need to be so big, like maximum 10. And there it is. Then with that selected, I'm going to go to the Type menu and go to Area Type Options. And this is a really nice way. You can actually set type, this works really good, using rows and columns, or just columns, or just rows. It depends what you like. Hit the Preview window, or the Preview, click on that, and then I'm going to make my 3-column layout just by clicking that a couple of times. And it's really nice because it gives me a fixed gutter of 1/4 of an inch, 0.25, in between each column. That's my gutter. And I'm going to hit OK. And there's kind of a quick way to create a 3-column grid. Then this is a really good way to get familiar with your content. So then I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw my columns. And you'll see that you want to extend your column here to the end of the line. So you have to look closely and see some of those lines extend a little bit, or they are a little bit longer. So make sure you get that full span of that column. And then Option click, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to bump it right up to the left side of that middle column. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the 3rd column and bump it right up to the left side of where that type begins. And there I have my 3-column grid. I'm going to do Command R to get rid of my, actually I'm going to do Command semicolon to get rid of my guides. And the guides are also located under your View menu, Guides, Show Guides. That's the shortcut, Command or Control semicolon or colon. So you can kind of see that if you want. And I can also, look, I might just move, I can always use the arrow key. Sometimes the arrow key is really nice. There's just a little bit of white space there. So just select it, and one little nudge with my arrow key kind of lines it up perfect. And, or maybe not. Now I've got a little edge remain there. So maybe I just need to. And sometimes if you need to adjust things and it won't let you do the increment you want, all that means is you have to zoom in, and then I have to go find my, there it is. So I can pull it out a bit, just a wee bit. There we go. And let's see what that looks like. Okay. And yeah, so sometimes you kind of have to just fine tune them a bit. But that looks pretty good. So I would save that as a 3-column grid. And essentially then I have a structure, and now I would go to my artboards and I would make a new artboard, and I would take my little grid and Option click or Alt click if you're on a PC, and I would duplicate that, and there's my 2-page layout.